We just did a study where we asked fundraisers and C-level executives, so executive directors, presidents, CEOs, chief financial officers, to tell us what the number one metric is that they use to measure success in their organization. We had over 400 organizations respond to this, and overwhelmingly, the one metric that most organizations are using today to measure success is gross revenue. And I understand why. It's a very simple calculation, right? It literally is just how much money came in, right? So gross revenue is the amount of income or revenue that your organization generates before any costs are taken out. Net revenue is your gross revenue less all of your costs. And when I say all of your costs, the way that I look at this is not just your hard costs. So not just the expenses you pay to your printer, the expenses you pay to your digital marketing agency, the expenses you pay to the power company to keep the lights on, all those sort of things, the food bill that you have if you feed people, your program expenses, but also fully loading in all of your staffing expenses, right? So one of the big mistakes that a lot of organizations make when they run events, they'll say, oh, well, my event raised $200,000 and I only spent $15,000 on materials for the event and my venue. But they don't tell you that they spent 600 hours of staff time on that event. And when you calculate the staff cost and you net that out against your revenue, all of a sudden you realize, wow, we just lost $32,000, right? But they treat staff expenses as a sunk cost. And so they don't calculate the value of it, right? And when we have that conversation, then we say, well, wait a minute. If you spend 10% of that staff time calling and building a relationship with major donors, you'll get 5 times that return that you got in the event. Like all of a sudden, the math just makes a big difference, right? But we strongly advocate that if you're going to measure just one metric, and particularly just one revenue metric in an organization to determine success, it has to be net revenue, because that's the only thing that's left to spend on mission after all costs are calculated, right? So that's the big difference there.